inappropriate on Snapchat
It's
again?
all the pictures of all the artists, like the half-naked statues and everything like that.
Oh, well, it's anatomy, and I feel like we should celebrate and point out big, interesting wieners on statues in Rome. You know, there is a variety of body celebration, and the more I can educate the world and go, hee hee, there's a wiener, the better probably for people appreciating art.
I felt very educated.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that.
So you've done Comic Cons, a lot of them now. How does MCM London kind of rate against some of the other cons you've been, maybe some of the ones in the States?
That's a good question. I didn't know what I was getting into. I had heard very good things about MCM, and just looking out on the floor, it's way bigger than I thought it would be. I mean, I would say that it reminds me a lot of New York City Comic Con, which is quite large. And the good thing is that it seems to not be hot, because being hot in a room with thousands and thousands of people is the worst, as we can all testify. And it seems to have a lot of variety of things to buy, and like a lot of handicrafts and like unique things, which I always appreciate. Sometimes when you go to events in the States, they sort of have all the same things, and it seems to have a lot more variation. So I'm sad I can't walk the floor and get lots of stuff that I would then have to find suitcase room for, which I don't have because I bought $300 worth of chocolate. And I'm giving it away, maybe, okay? It was supposed to be gifts, but I just don't know yet if it's going to end up making it back to the States.
I've got to ask, as someone who's such a big participant and part of the Comic-Con scene and kind of general geek culture, what do you personally attribute this explosion of it in not just this country but all around the world in the past 10 years?
I think the explosion of it is enabled by the internet. I think the internet allows people, just like I talk a lot about in my book that's coming up in August, You're Never Weird on the Internet, almost. It's coming out in August here in the UK. But a lot of when I started writing down my personal journey, a lot of it was using the internet to express who I was without sort of feeling isolated or ashamed of it. And I think the internet allows people, wherever they are physically, to connect with people who are like them mentally and passion-wise, and that allows people to connect better and celebrate who they are more freely. And I think Comic-Cons and events like this are a perfect way to bring that online world where you feel accepted into the offline world where you can also feel accepted. So I'm very proud to have been, sort of old school, used to this world, and to see it grow and have more and more people enriched by it is fantastic.
Talking about time, were you aware that was 12 years ago this week Buffy finale aired?
What?
The Buffy finale aired 12 years ago.
Nope.
I mean, just talking a little bit more about con culture, obviously, for a long time, the event and general geek culture was seen as very much a male preserve, and there's a real sense that, particularly in the last few years, that's completely changing. How do you feel about that, and why do you think it's taken this long to get to this point?
Yeah, I do think I see a lot more female representation in not only the media, but also just the fandom. And I think that's very encouraging, especially younger girls, a whole generation of girls who grew up on the internet and can express their fandom and connect. And Tumblr is an amazing platform that is very encouraging and also very female-centric. And you see the same enthusiasm about TV shows and video games there that you do in other areas like forums and things that are traditionally more male-oriented. And I think it's wonderful because there's a lot of, especially in fandom, there's a lot of projection of self into the worlds. And even though it may have started more with guys with Star Trek and very older science fiction worlds, I think that women have always been involved in them, but maybe just not as vocally because women are expected to be a certain kind of person. I'm sorry, there's a doll of me right there.
My bad.
Yeah, that's okay. I think there are a lot of cliches of women not liking these things, and that really kept women out of it, at least vocally. And the internet allows people to feel a little bit more free in being themselves, so they feel more support to show the world that they're interested in a video game or a show. And I think it's very awesome because, to me, nerd culture is genderless, it's backgroundless, it's ageless. Really, you're connecting over something you love, and whatever that person looked like or their background, if you both love Doctor Who, you can have an amazing conversation. And it overcomes a lot of societal boundaries that might not even be real for us. They're just sort of told to us that they are barriers, and geek culture allows us to overcome those, I think.
So kind of on that theme, what do you think therefore about the number of female characters there are in kind of superhero films, for example, and the whole issue that's been recently about the figures, the action figures that are available in the kind of versions like Scarlet Witch, or whether it's Black Widow, compared to the Hawkeyes and the Iron Mans and the Captain Americas of this world?
Yeah, no, I totally think it's very lame. I mean, there are certain, I love superhero, I love superhero. I'm not a huge superhero comics fan because I never really identified very strongly with a lot of characters there, like Wonder Woman. I thought was really fun, and Mary Jane, I was always in love with her because she was a redhead in that world. But as far as like the really empowered characters, the ones with these powers and who are changing the world and saving, and really who had the emotional journeys, you don't find as many characters, especially in past years. Like now you can look to Ms. Marvel, and there's like so many characters, especially from indie comics, that sort of vibe passing, crossing over into mainstream comics, which I think is great. So I think that in the comic world and the gaming world, you could see a lot more examples of stronger female, I hate to use the word strong, but just prominent female characters where you actually understand their emotional journey versus being an appendage to the main male character's journey. And I think television has a lot more cliches and limits to what people think of women characters as. So especially, shows like Gotham and Flash and Daredevil, like those are amazing shows with very complicated lead characters, but you don't necessarily look and say, hey, I want to be a Karen, or I want to be an Iris. Like, you don't have as strong women characters there with their own independent emotional journeys who could possibly carry the show themselves. And that's how I like to measure every character, whether it's a strong character or not, female, any background, would they be able to, on their own, carry the show? And you don't really have that, especially with female characters who are supposed to be love interests. So hopefully, I think awareness and people pointing it out it's possible to affect change and really encourage writers, male or female, to sort of broaden their idea of what a romantic female character, super or not, it could be.
What do you think should be done to make women more stronger in just in storylines? Because you're describing how there's that thing, but what's your opinion? What do you think needs to be more stronger?
I think we all need to overcome the cliches of what we're told women characters are, and I think that, rather than looking to actors to make that change, the most powerful actors can influence the kind of roles they get done, but it's only about 20 people or something who really can make movies happen. Really, it's about encouraging and educating people of diversity to be behind the camera more, writing more, being executives more, and directors. Really, those are the people who make the stories that are presented. And if, even though there are a lot of barriers to women getting into those paths, the great thing is that we have the internet, and we have places that you can show people and prove concepts that might not be mainstream likable or approvable, but can actually find an audience. The Guild was something that I made for 6 years, completely outside the system, and I know that it never would have gotten made regularly. There's an amazing web series called High Maintenance, and one of the directors is a woman. So I think there are tools that we have at our fingertips. If you have something to say, you just have to have a role model to show you this is something that could be cool to be versus just being an actor.
Is that why you help support Morganville, the vampire series? Is because they have so many strong female characters in it?
It's certainly something that attracted me to it. I'm friends with Rachel Kane, the author of those series, because I'm a huge fan of genre romance literature. It's one of my secret Achilles heels, or my passions, as far as a hobby goes. And I have a book club, Vaginal Fantasy, that we do read a book like that every month, and it's very fun. But that was a friend of mine having trying to set out on her own to make her show because it was getting into development and her series was not getting made. And she decided to Kickstarter it herself, and I wanted to come in to support that however we could, because I think, you know, scripted television outside the mainstream is how we're going to change the perception of what is a character and what is viable or not.
And you're part of a lot of fandoms like Supernatural, Buffy, obviously, and the Guild. What do you think like you're recognised for most, and what your fans come up to you most to talk about?
It's very divergent, you know. I get recognized a lot, just randomly on the street, you know, sometimes, and it will be from usually the Guild or Supernatural. There's a lot of gamers who, there's not a lot of entertainment that gamers instantly associate with a person. So I think the Guild is quite popular. And then lately, since I've been on the show a lot more, Supernatural, I've been recognized quite a bit. It's very fun to play a character that's resonated. You know, isn't a regular character, but it resonated a lot with fans, and that's what I loved about being in genre shows, is that it means something more to fans than just kind of watching and filling an hour of their week.
Obviously, she was like a huge Harry Potter fan. She had little Hermione. Are you a Harry Potter fan yourself? It's like J.K. Rowling's really prolific on Twitter now.
Yeah.
Is she someone you'd like to meet?
Oh my God, are you kidding? Yes. I mean, every time I'm walking around London, I'm like, where's the secret door?
Well, I bumped into her in Oxford Street, so just walk up and down Oxford Street. Got a selfie with her and everything. So up and down Oxford Street. She was checking the bank. I don't know why.
Live there. I don't know. should have people to do that.
That's
what you think, but yes. No, she's an amazing role model for people. And if you read about her journey, she did not have an easy time writing that. She was definitely struggled a lot, and especially I think she's talked about depression before and writer's block and all these things. And you know, everybody looks at the end result of things and thinks, hey, I want to do that, but you have to really sign up for the process and all the hard things to get through it. And that's why I admire her being open with that. And you know, I talk about that in my book some, about how hard it was for me to just get up and do things, and thank goodness I did, because I have a lot of people staring at me right now because of it.
I mean, obviously we're at a time of great inclusivity and a lot of change, but that's also coming with a backlash, and I wondered if you had particular feelings about things like Gamergate and some of the ways in which the darker side of the internet seems to be fighting against increasing prominent roles for women, particularly in gaming and geek culture.
If you challenge someone's paradigm about what the truth of something is, then you're going to have people who are inflexible and not able to change their perception and feel that any judgment or trying to change a world or a fandom is a reflection on judging them as people. The thing about geeks in geek culture is that we really all feel very passionately about what we love, and we feel ownership over it, especially gaming. We, by definition, project ourselves into our gaming world as ourselves. We are, you know, we're not just watching a character go through a movie. We are in that world, performing the actions in a weird psychological way. So, you know, I think you see a lot of resistance, especially in that world, to people saying this is not, you know, I want to belong in this world, and I don't feel like I fit in, and I need things to maybe change to accommodate diversity of viewpoints. I would not say that anything that's happened has been good for the image of gaming, to be honest with you, but I think you can always look at everything as a positive, and the fact that you have a very small minority of people who happen to be very loud and think they have access to people because the way the social media is, you have 10 times as many people pushing back against that, and really that probably foments a lot more change, because people are feeling more supported by the majority, and can be encouraged to be a gamer without you know, being shamed about it. So I think it's the kind of struggle that you see when you're trying to change people's viewpoints, and hopefully there's enough people to band together to say yes, we can be inclusive rather than exclusive, because if you look at the numbers, it's vastly the negative is vastly outbalanced by the positive, I believe.
You talked about Supernatural, and Supernatural has a history of female characters not really being accepted, yet your character's become probably one of the main females that everyone's loved. Were you worried about going into Supernatural in case there was, because the fandom for Supernatural is very strong, were you worried about going into Supernatural, and what was it like knowing that your character was accepted?
You know, to me, I just thought about the show and how fantastic the family is, and you know, to me, I get offered a lot of shows in Hall, you know, I turn down quite a bit of work because I'm very busy producing my own stuff. I love being behind the cameras, in front, and it's very important to me to belong to a show that has that kind of fandom. I would rather be on a show that has a family like that than anything. It doesn't matter, you know, the work is fun and the job is fun, but if it doesn't have that element of adding to people's lives, then it's not as interesting to me to do it. So, you know, Supernatural had a great fandom, and over the 4 years I've been on the show, the fandom has grown exponentially, and I think that's just helped by social media and Tumblr and Twitter and all these other, and the fans, Jared and Jensen really love their fans, and they go, the schedules they work are insane, and the fact that they do conventions all the time and they go out of their way to greet fans, and they've really set a family tone on set and off that inspires me and makes me feel like a continuation of the world that I started, which was in Buffy, which had the same sort of we're all in it together sort of spirit. So I'm very thankful to the fans for liking my character and being on the journey with me until the end.
What's it like when you've got your own little toy figure as well? That's why I brought that along. I thought, for me, when I was younger, it's like having my own toy figure of me is just like, wow, big geeky nerdgasm. But,
I mean, yeah.
What's that like for you, knowing there's millions of you all out now?
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I was in for Forbidden Planet, I think, yesterday, and I was just walking around because I really love that store, and I had my glasses on. I'm just kind of walking. My hair was completely uncombed, sorry. And I looked around, and a guy was just kind of like, he was standing there with a Dean, a Sam, and a Charlie just holding it. Like he was just shopping. He's like, oh my god, which is pretty cool. So yes.
Did he buy it and he get you to sign it?
He just took a picture with me, but he was genuinely shopping. It wasn't like he saw me and grabbed them. That was the weird part. So I was like,
own your own version of yourself?
I own a lot of versions of myself. Yeah.
Speaking of role models, you mentioned earlier that your parents were really influential in your growing up because you were homeschooled and they were big on reading science fiction and doing what you love. What's an anecdote they love to tell about you?
Oh my God, I don't know about my parents. That's a good question. I don't know about anecdotes they like to tell about me. I mean, I had a very large glass unicorn collection, which is kind of like a glass menagerie, which I didn't know about until the end. So I was kind of like the geeky glass menagerie. Maybe not as dark, because that was a sad play. But I love fairy tales. I had pictures of, like, I would print out Maxfield Parrish oils and just put them all over my room. And, you know, there are certain things that I talk about this actually in my book a lot, about growing up just kind of a strange little girl. But drawn to worlds that were not my own, and I think that's, you know, that kind of escapist attitude, it definitely influences me. I'd rather be in a fake world than a real world a lot. in my spare time, I pay my bills and everything, don't worry.
You've been working with your brother in videos. Would you consider doing something as big as The Guild again with him?
That's very nice of Ryan. Is an actor? Yes, I mean that's really funny. He's never acted before, but he never was on camera either, and I just threw him on camera, and he has taken to it quite nicely. What I love about it is he's so kind to our fans. We have a whole community, Team Human, which is has formed around our Twitch streaming, which is live video game streaming. We do it a couple times a week. I'm sorry, big microphone. And that community building is so important to me, and the fact that he puts a lot of, you know, it's like we make friends and we hang out with the same people twice a week, and it's just really awesome what the internet can create. That said, Ryan was in the Guild back in the day, and as an extra 3 times, and he stared into the camera every time. I actually have a reel of him staring into the lens that we put up just as a joke. So I don't know about acting, you know. But certainly it's my intention to write another vehicle for myself, like the Guild, and that's what I've been working on the last couple months, ever since my book draft was done. So hopefully before the end of the year I can talk about more of that, and it's important to me just to create something that's as true to my heart as the Guild was, which is kind of hard because it was so close to my heart.
Can you tell us about your book a bit?
Yeah, well, my book is called You're Never Weird on the Internet, almost, and it's my journey of how I grew up a weird child and was homeschooled and went to college at, 16 and grew up and discovered, internet video because I had something to say and I didn't have another place to say it. So I'm excited It's coming out in the UK. I actually have a publisher here, so hopefully I'll be back to talk about that more in August when it comes out.
How long did it take to write?
That's
Sorry.
it for questions.
Okay.
I'm really sorry.
Yeah, okay, but it took me I actually took a year off last year to write it, so it was kind of hard. Talking about yourself for a year is like, that's a lot of me. But I think that given all the reviews and the blurbs and things that are coming in, I wanted to write it so that people could take something away from it and either create or connect with other people, just like I did, that led me to here, which is an awesome. Wait, I want to take a little Snapchat of this because this is weird. It's so much people staring at me, so you guys can be the.
That's a very creepy cover.
Oh yeah, it's a really creepy cover, huh? Hi, press, people. Hi. Okay.
And now I can watch it.
Yeah, you can watch it on Snapchat. It's riveting.
What is your Snapchat?
Oh, it's this Felicia Day. I don't know who Felicia Day is.
What would you do if you met her?
Punch her in the face. Or him. It could be a
Some
him.
really interesting artwork on a Snapchat, though, I have to say.
Yeah, there's a lot of wieners.
On way to MCM Expo with a new necklace. Well, the necklace looks lovely.
Thank you very much. I got it in Covent Garden. It's a dinosaur, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's not a fashion show, but it's pretty great.
Better